The first thing I did after transmigrating into a giant python was forcibly kidnap a small female snake I found on the path. Then, I indulged in the primal pleasure of reptilian reproduction. But a second later, pure panic set in. I realized the small female snake I had just taken by force was actually the reincarnation of the Dragon Empress, commander of 100,000 aquatic soldiers. Inside, she hissed, "I am the Dragon Empress, yet I've lost my purity in this wretched place." Even though she didn't speak aloud, I could hear every single thought in her heart. I stood there, completely stunned. Great, just great. She hates me to her very core. If she ever regains her power, I'm a dead man. Just as I was weighing whether to strike first, a voice rang out in my head. I had successfully bound to the God-level option system, granting me 100x feedback on all skills. I felt a surge of joy. My Transmigrator's cheat code had finally arrived. Binding complete. Target, Lu Ruyan. Dragon Empress. Status, critically injured and vulnerable. I whipped my head around to look at Lu Ruyan at the cave entrance like she was a priceless treasure. When her eyes met mine, her small body couldn't stop trembling. I let my massive frame slither directly toward the mouth of the cave. Lu Ruyan's heart filled with horror. What is this insect going to do to me now? As the former Dragon Empress, she knew the lecherous nature of snakes all too well. If she had to endure a second humiliation, she would rather die. Lu Ruyan grit her teeth, clearly planning to fight me to the death. But I didn't even look at her as I slithered out toward the mountains and forests. I heard her thoughts clearly, but I was a 20-year-old virgin. I couldn't go again. Besides, my consciousness wasn't fully awake back then, so technically, that wasn't even me. I moved through the jungle, processing my memories and focusing on increasing my cultivation. When I reappeared at the cave entrance, I had several animals clamped in my jaws. Lu Ruyan recoiled instinctively. She had tried to escape, but her injuries were too severe to move. She swallowed hard at the sight of the food, but her pride kept her from begging. I wanted to tease her more, but if I accidentally let her starve, it would be a massive loss. I dropped the prey right in front of her. Her eyes widened with shock. She was so hungry her stomach was touching her spine. She thought, "I'll only take one bite, then I'll avenge this humiliation once I recover." She opened her mouth and used her fangs to tear into the meat instantly. My face darkened as I listened to her thoughts. She eats my food and still wants revenge? If the system wasn't bound to this golden goose, I would have abandoned her long ago. Suddenly, system notifications began ringing in my head. 100x feedback reward, super smell, ox strength. I opened my status panel and saw over a dozen new supernatural powers listed. I couldn't help but sigh with relief. She really is a cultivation goldmine. I gained all this just from her eating a meal. I didn't think twice, bit into another deer, and tossed it right in front of Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan was busy digesting the food while her body healed at a visible speed. When she saw me drop another beast, she didn't reject it. She opened her bloody jaws and tore in again. The sweet system notifications kept ringing in my head, and I was ecstatic. I spent the next 3 days hunting, and most of the prey I brought back ended up in her stomach. Her scales grew brighter by the second, her size nearly matched mine, and I could feel a heavy pressure radiating from her. But the faster she recovered, the more excited I got, because I was the one reaping all the rewards. I dropped today's catch in front of her and prepared to check my latest haul. Ding! A change in the mental state of the linked target, Lu Ruyan, has been detected. Intimacy increased by 1. Supernatural power synthesis activated. The higher the intimacy, the better the rewards. If intimacy hits 0, the bond dissolves. I didn't hesitate for a second and immediately fused the powers I'd gained over the last few days into one, Beast King. In an instant, my dozens of meters-long snake body expanded, becoming far more robust and powerful than before. I could feel the raw power surging through my new form. After 3 days of rest, Lu Ruyan had regained some of her strength, and a spark of life returned to her body. She thought, "You thieving heavens, even if you plot to destroy my dragon race, I've survived and found a way." Suddenly, a massive boom echoed, and the air grew so heavy that Lu Ruyan could barely breathe. She panicked, thinking, "Is it a trap? Are the heavenly soldiers and generals coming for me?" Her muscles tensed, but when she looked up, she saw a gigantic silver-white python coiled on the rocks nearby. She stared in total shock, unable to believe her eyes. She never imagined that the terrifying explosion of power from before had come from me. This destructive power was already on par with a species leader. Lu Ruyan stared at me, stunned by the tentacles sprouting from my forehead. She thought, "So that's it, he actually carries the blood of the dragon ancestor. I'll let you be arrogant for a few days, but once I resume my cultivation, I'll leave you in the dust." She sighed, knowing she still needed a demon core to restart her arts. I heard every word of her inner monologue and realized I'd have to find her those cores to keep growing stronger. Lu Ruyan felt my gaze and panicked, thinking, "You dead pervert, what are you looking at? Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you've evolved. I'll crush you eventually." I shook my head, annoyed that even in this life, I was still working like a slave for someone like her. I turned around and slithered deep into the secret realm until the air changed. The spiritual aura here was incredibly thick, and I began to greedily absorb every drop of it. Suddenly, a piercing bird cry rang out, and a massive shadow dove straight for me. I didn't dare relax for a second and twisted my massive body to dodge the strike. With a dull thud, the bird's talons shattered the giant rock where I had been standing. My skin crawled at the sight. If I hadn't moved, I would have been torn into several pieces. The bird missed its mark and immediately soared back into the sky to prepare for another dive. I retreated hastily, wondering what kind of monster could be this fierce. Ding. Level 2 snake hunting bird detected. Deliver its gallbladder to Lu Ruyan for special rewards. The rewards sounded tempting, but its name alone told me this thing was my natural enemy. I lured it toward the vine thickets, the bird shrieking as it chased me into my trap. The bird lunged at me, but this time, I didn't rush to dodge. I stepped aside at the last second, letting it crash into the tangled vines. It was trapped, unable to take flight, so I activated my Beast King power and approached. The hunter didn't expect to be outplayed like this. The level 2 demon beast thrashed frantically, but the vines held firm. The more it struggled, the deeper it sank into the trap until it couldn't move at all. I opened my bloody maws and bit down, my Beast King pressure making it forget to fight back. It let out one final, miserable shriek as I tore its head clean off. The system pinged. Congratulations on killing a level 2 demon beast. Reward, Dragon Essence. A small, exceptionally hard orb of dragon essence materialized right in front of me. I decided to fuse it into my 7-inch heart, just in case Lu Ruyan ever tries to assassinate me. With a single thought, the essence merged into my body, strengthening my core. I ripped the bird's carcass from the vines and began the trek back. I stayed cautious on the path, scanning the skies for any more of those hunters. Suddenly, a dense spiritual aura wafted from nearby, signaling a potential heavenly treasure. I immediately changed course, swimming through the brush as the aura grew thicker. Minutes later, a pond appeared, with threads of white mist rising from the surface. The mist was pure spiritual energy, a phenomenon usually reserved for sacred sect lands. But as I marveled at my luck, a heart-stopping pressure suddenly crushed the air. My heart froze. I turned to flee instantly, sensing a mortal danger right behind me. A jet of water shot out from the pond, carrying an aura of pure destruction. With a deafening crash, the water blast struck a massive tree nearby, snapping it like a twig. That was too close. I didn't dare look back as I bolted from the area without stopping. This aura was leagues beyond that hunting bird. I couldn't even fathom fighting back. I didn't slow down until I had put a massive distance between us, and the pounding in my chest finally faded. I'm still way too weak for this. Once I've evolved further, I'll come back for a second look. After catching my breath, I rushed back to the dragon cave, desperate to increase my power. I slammed the bird's carcass onto the ground, and Lu Ruyan immediately approached. She examined the dead hunter carefully, a flicker of genuine fear crossing her eyes. Even dead, the bird's lingering aura threatened her. It was clearly a ranked demon beast. I ignored her muttering and nudged the bird toward her with my head, signaling her to eat. She looked at me, wondering if I was submitting to her, then noticed something inside the carcass. Realizing what it was, Lu Ruyan reached in and pulled out a glowing demon core. She was stunned that a rankless snake like me had taken down a level 2 beast and handed over the prize. She held the demon core in her mouth, hesitating to swallow it. I watched her with a cold stare, thinking, why so cautious? If it's good, just eat it already. I retreated to my corner to rest, and only then did she tilt her head back and swallow the core. Time passed, and when Lu Ruyan finally opened her eyes, her wounds were completely healed. She wondered, did he just want me to heal, or is he trying to make me his servant? Lu Ruyan stared at me, lost in her own suspicious thoughts. She clearly didn't come here to do anything useful, let alone become a dragon rider. Forget it, I don't want to overthink this. Time will eventually reveal the heart of a demon. Hearing her thoughts, I snorted coldly from across the cave. Even if she begged me now, I wouldn't go. I'm waiting until I transform. Suddenly, a notification rang out. Lu Ruyan has consumed a demon core. Favorability increased to 2. I felt completely helpless. She only gives me 1 favorability point after eating an entire core? This girl is way too suspicious for her own good. Before I could dwell on it, the aura inside my body surged, and I evolved into a rank 1 demon beast. I was ecstatic. If rank 1 is this strong, I can't wait to see what's next. My god, how did he get as thick as a human waist so fast? Lu Ruyan stared at me, jaw dropped. I looked at her and smirked, thinking, little girl, just watch how I make you fall for me. But as I was basking in my own pride, her next thought nearly made me faceplant. He's so big now. If he tries to take advantage of me, I'll be devastated, she thought with worried eyes. I stood up in shock, staring at her in disbelief. Are those really the words of a dragon empress? Lu Ruyan glared back, refusing to show weakness to a mere python, though she looked adorable. I chuckled inwardly. This dragon empress is actually pretty cute when she's being stubborn. My mind started to wander, so I stopped staring at the thunderous snake and went back to resting. It seems I've finally intimidated him, she thought, looking pleased as I backed away. She fell back into contemplation, unable to fathom how I had improved so suddenly. I decided to stop worrying about her theories for now and focus on my own growth. Maybe she had a lucky encounter out there. I'll have to follow her next time she leaves. My growth speed is already eclipsing hers. If this keeps up, how will she ever get her revenge? After a while, I stretched my body and slithered slowly toward the cave entrance, making sure to pace myself. Lu Rian scrambled to follow me, but her crawling speed was pathetic compared to mine. Just wait until I'm back at the top, she hissed. I'll tie you up with ropes and drag you behind me. I was going to wait for her, but after hearing that, I surged forward and left her hundreds of meters behind. Lu Rian panicked instantly, shouting in her head, "Why are you running? Afraid I'll steal your treasures." She was fuming now, pushing herself to catch up, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't close the gap. Helpless and exhausted, she gave up and turned around to head back to the cave. That's when I reappeared right in front of her, looking down from a ledge and signaling for her to climb up. Is he actually letting me follow him? She thought, her eyes wide with disbelief. I flicked my tail again, telling her to hurry the hell up, and she didn't hesitate for a second. I carried Lu Rian forward at high speed, and before long, we plunged into the dense forest. I released my aura without holding back, and a distant roar echoed. I had caught something's attention. Lu Rian froze in fear, her body tensing up as she prepared for a fight she couldn't win. A black chimpanzee swung through the vines, radiating the raw power of a rank 1 demon beast. Before the ape could even land, I lunged forward with my jaws wide open to strike first. The chimpanzee roared in fury, swinging its massive iron fists directly at my head. I whipped my head aside to dodge the blow, then coiled my body around its arm and torso like a vice. Die! I squeezed with everything I had, listening to the satisfying sound of its bones snapping. A few minutes later, feeling the chimpanzee's heartbeat vanish completely, I loosened my grip. Lu Rian stood there, looking as calm and steady as an old dog. But inside, her mind was racing. To kill an opponent of the same rank in one blow, no wonder he's the king of the outskirts. I smirked at her reaction and flicked my tongue, signaling for her to consume the black star-shaped gallbladder. What is he planning? She wondered. Is he really going to keep feeding me these? A look of pure disbelief flashed in Lu Rian's eyes as she thought, is this a reward? She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. Forget it, don't overthink. Just focus on getting stronger. Listening to her inner monologue, I was speechless. This little empress sure loves her internal drama. Lu Rian found the gallbladder and swallowed it whole, and once she finished, I led her deeper into the woods. We ran into another rank 1 black wolf, and after I finished it off, I pulled out the gallbladder for her to eat. Eat up, Rian. A system notification popped up. Lu Rian needs one more rank 2 gallbladder to evolve into a rank 1 demon beast. I took a deep breath. Thank you, she whispered. This time, I was determined to wipe away my previous shame, so I headed straight for the depths of the spirit altar. As soon as we reached the perimeter, I activated my divine power, Beast King. The spirit altar suddenly began to boil, thick bubbles surging to the surface. I felt a sudden chill. A murderous intent was locked onto me, and I immediately pivoted to escape at full speed. The moment I turned, a massive pillar of water slammed into the exact spot where I had been standing. Then the notification rang out. Ding. Encountered a rank 3 demon beast. I looked back and cursed. Damn, it really is a rank 3. I immediately pivoted to flee, realizing my second intrusion had already enraged the monster. Just when I thought I was safe, a pillar of water slammed into my abdomen, sending me rolling across the ground in agony. Another blast struck my tail, but I forced myself to keep running until I was far away. Lu Rian recovered and glared at the spirit altar, thinking, that stench of death. I'll kill that damn toad sooner or later. I mentally gave her a thumbs up, but I was too overconfident. If I hadn't been fast, I'd be a cold corpse by now. I decided to play it safe for a few days and hunt rank 2 beasts in the dense forest to build my strength for revenge. Before long, a tiger's roar echoed from the distance, and I immediately sprinted toward the sound. A massive tiger appeared before me, and for a moment, neither of us dared to make the first move. Lu Rian panicked, thinking, terrible, a rank 2 demon beast. Little Nikyu stands no chance against it. I have to find an opening to strike, she thought. I can't let this Nikyu die for nothing. Lu Rian crawled silently along the ground, waiting for the perfect moment to ambush the tiger. But I didn't give her the chance. I launched a sudden, violent attack before she could even move. The battle between me and the Tiger King erupted, and the scent of blood immediately filled the air. After a few exchanges, the tiger looked shocked that a mere rank 1 beast like me could actually hold my own. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually, the tiger's life force finally faded away. The sky was dark by the time I collapsed, gasping for air and covered in fresh scars. Lu Rian watched me, thinking, his strength is extraordinary. He actually has the right to follow me. She looked at me with a cold, calculating gaze. She was used to seeing me injured like this. As long as I wasn't dead, it wasn't a big deal to her. Once I caught my breath, I dragged the tiger's carcass over and nodded for her to eat. A look of pure shock crossed Lu Rian's face. She thought, he wants me to eat the core, but isn't this loach injured? Logically, I was the one who needed that demon core to heal my wounds. She shook her head firmly, signaling for me to eat it first and recover. I guess this tigress actually has a bit of a conscience after all. I kept nudging it toward her, insisting she take the prize. After a long back and forth, she finally gave in and swallowed the core. Ding! Congratulations, you've gained the ability to scale trees and mountains. I checked the skill, but it was useless, just a slight speed boost for climbing. Suddenly, Lu Rian's aura began to surge violently. She was using some secret technique to rapidly devour the demonic power. At the same time, my own cultivation began to skyrocket through our bond. My internal golden core grew larger and larger, yet I hit a wall at the peak of rank 1. I was stunned. Had I become a bottomless pit for energy just like her? My wounds were fully healed, so I started focusing on stabilizing my new power. Suddenly, Lu Rian's energy turned erratic, flickering between calm and chaotic. My intuition screamed that she was falling into a state of demonic possession. I called out to the system for a cultivation manual, but I got no response. I circled her, watching her face twist into a strange, unrecognizable expression. Before I could react, she lunged, pinning me to the ground with terrifying strength. I won't even mention if it felt good or not. It's showtime now. Lu Rian slowly woke up, screaming internally, "I'm going to kill you, you stinking rice ball." The trace of demonic madness was gone from her eyes, replaced entirely by pure fury. Ignoring the tearing pain in her body, she wanted to fight me to the death right then and there. But then she saw me curled up in a ball, sobbing like a heartbroken young girl. The fire in her heart died down a little as she thought, "Forget it, I won't bother with this idiot." She realized the demonic energy had taken over, and luckily, she'd released it before things got worse. I secretly thought to myself, she was actually the one who took the initiative. Snakes are lustful by nature, and her instincts simply exploded when she took that pill. She let out a long sigh, deciding to let it go since I had given her the demon core. She figured my heart was in the right place, even if she felt a bit embarrassed remembering the entanglement. That's when she realized she'd broken through. She had finally reached the first level of a demonic beast. In her past life, she never used this technique because it required too many resources and a total reset. Even though she was at a fraction of her peak power, the rush of strength felt intoxicating. But then, she froze as she noticed something strange. Has my bloodline been purified? After reincarnating as a snake, her bloodline was impure and weak, usually requiring a brutal rebirth to fix. Yet after just one union with me, her bloodline was pure and even integrated with another species. How is this even possible? I watched her, thinking, are you still obsessing over your clothes? Give me a break. I've done so much for her, and I still can't get her to like me even a little bit. Forget it, I'm not worried about her liking me right now. I'll deal with that after I finally transform. Lu Rian's thoughts echoed mine. We needed to get back to the lava cave. She needed to stabilize her realm after that chaotic demonic breakthrough. Just as we were about to leave, a massive roar shattered the silence. A brown bear emerged from the brush, leading a smaller cub. It looked like a mother teaching her young one how to hunt. Perfect timing, a late-stage first-level beast and a cub about to evolve. We split up instantly, picking our targets with perfect synchronization. I lunged forward, my tail snapping like a whip through the air. The impact sent the mother bear flying dozens of meters back. She slammed into a massive tree, snapping the trunk clean in half. Bears have thick skin, so that strike didn't kill her instantly. She lay there for nearly a minute before struggling back to her feet. Meanwhile, Lu Rian was dealing with the cub's clumsy ambush. She dodged effortlessly, mocking the creature's lack of combat experience. She opened her maw, bearing fangs that glistened with lethal venom. A stream of poison shot out, blinding the cub instantly. The cub collapsed, rolling on the ground in agonizing pain. The mother bear's eyes turned blood red as she charged to save her young. Another solid impact. The mother bear collapsed, her ribs shattered by the blow as she let out a miserable groan. She could only watch helplessly as Lu Rian sank her fangs deep into the cub's body. A moment later, the tip of my silver tail coiled slowly around the mother's neck, strangling the life out of her. My strength has surged again. Being at the peak is worlds apart from where I started. I used my tail to scoop up the spirit pill and tossed it directly toward the green bamboo viper. But she didn't eat it. What a stubborn brat. Lu Rian clearly thought I was going to swallow that pill myself, yet I gave it to her instead. She caught the spirit pill and swallowed it without hesitation, her beautiful eyes never leaving mine. Ding! Lu Rian's affinity toward the host has increased by 5 points. Not bad, though I'm surprised a raspberry spirit pill only netted me a few points of favor. Ding! Reward unlocked. All-terrain movement. Maintain max speed and reduce energy drain regardless of the environment. Ding! Lu Rian's demonic power has surged. She only needs one more pill to reach the second rank. Just one more pill to go, and I'm not far behind, already hitting my own cultivation bottleneck. I opened my system panel to check my rewards. Most were low-tier mortal-grade skills with little use. System, fuse all these mortal-grade skills together. Let's see if we can pull something decent out of the pile. Congratulations, fusion successful. You have obtained the spirit-grade skill, Scarlet Toxic Wind Fangs. Instantly, a pair of massive, razor-sharp fangs retracted into my mouth like a cat's claws. I was impressed. They looked lethal, but I needed to see how they performed in a real fight. The system explained that these fangs carry a fast-acting, potent toxin capable of killing an enemy almost instantly. With the mechanics clear, I decided it was time to give my new weapons a test run. The sound of spraying water echoed as I realized I could control these fangs to eject venom at will. The poison hit the ground, instantly turning the wild grass to ash and filling the air with a foul stench. I was stunned. I never imagined this toxin would be so incredibly potent. Nearby, Lu Rian was coiled up to stabilize her power, but the sound and the smell made her snap her eyes open. Pythons aren't supposed to have fangs, let alone venomous ones. It usually makes swallowing prey difficult. But this smelly loach had grown fangs. First dragon armor, now this. Was I actually transforming into a dragon? Lu Rian stared in pure shock, witnessing something that defied everything she knew. In her tens of thousands of years, she'd never heard of a snake evolving like this just by ranking up. Upgrading a bloodline usually requires a specific cultivation method. Without the right one, you just drop dead. I caught the perverted girl muttering to herself and turned my head toward her, feeling pretty smug. With this kind of power, I'm definitely going to make her lose her mind over me. Smelly loach, look at this empress again, and I'll gouge those wandering eyes right out of your head. Feeling my blatant, passionate gaze, Lu Rian felt a wave of contempt. My stare was far too direct for her comfort. I snorted inwardly, thinking, oh, you want my eyes? Just you wait. Then I looked away. Seeing me turn my back, Lu Rian went quiet, the tension between us thick enough to cut. Just as we prepared to leave, the earth began to tremble, as if some terrible creature was closing in. A massive black shadow was charging toward us from the distance. It moved with terrifying speed, its limbs tearing through the terrain with agile precision. Hearing the approach, Lu Rian and I turned our heads in unison, our guards raised to the absolute max. It was a brown bear, even larger than the black one from before, radiating a much more violent aura. I smelled him before he even got close, that massive, surging blood energy. He must be the mate of the bear I just killed. My heart skipped a beat. We had slaughtered his wife and kids, and now he was here for blood. A mere brown bear? I can handle him with one hand, Lu Rian said, her voice trembling despite her tough act. Hearing her, I felt a surge of adrenaline. I was at the peak of the first rank and dying to test myself. I wanted a head-on clash with this Tier 2 physical demonic beast. So, let him come. He's nothing but more evolution points to me. I took the initiative and lunged, but I wasn't stupid enough to take a direct hit. I coiled my body and began to slither with deceptive speed. I wove through the trees, my long, serpentine form stretching out like a whip. The distance closed in an instant as the brown bear stood on its hind legs, towering over me. His body was covered in scars, radiating the aura of a seasoned, ferocious killer. He barely glanced at his mate's corpse, but when he saw his dead cub, his aura exploded into chaos. High-ranking beasts struggle to breed, and this cub was likely his only heir. With the intelligence of a young teenager, he was capable of feeling pure, raw hatred. He beat his chest and let out a deafening roar that shook the very air. Then he dropped to all fours and charged, leaping high to crush my spine under his weight. I thought he'd have some special tricks, but he was just a total brute. As he flew through the air, I whipped my tail back, narrowly dodging the impact. The next few coils became easier, and though he tried to pry me off with his massive arms, his fate was sealed. I tightened my grip, and before I had even fully wrapped around him, I heard his bones grinding and snapping. At first, the bear still had the strength to roar, but within minutes, I had him completely enveloped in my scales. Time to see how powerful my venom really is. I unhinged my jaws and sank my fangs deep through his thick hide. The translucent toxin hit his veins and instantly turned a searing red, corroding his flesh like molten magma. In just 3 minutes, the wound glowed with a hellish heat, turning from a fiery red to a necrotic black. It was as if a scorching fire had been lit inside him, and his very muscles began to cook from the heat. With his bones shattered and the venom eating him alive, the bear was trapped in a state worse than death. By the 4th minute, his blood stopped flowing, and his flickering life force finally vanished into nothing. I released my grip and took a few deep breaths, while Lu Rian wisely stayed back to avoid getting in my way. I extracted the monster core and tossed it toward Lu Rian, signaling for the Empress to eat up. Wait, this brat isn't even taking a bite? Did she actually grow a conscience? Lu Rian stuck her tongue out and tried to push it back, her pride seemingly preventing her from accepting the gift. I wasn't taking no for an answer. I pushed the core right back toward her with a firm, unwavering gaze. You're the one giving this to me, she muttered. Don't blame me if you end up hungry later. She stared at the core, her throat bobbing with greed, clearly desperate for the power boost despite her words. This perverted snake is so smug, she thought. I can't wait to see what he looks like when he finally takes human form. Ding. A change in Lu Rian's mentality toward the host has been detected. Favorability has increased. I nodded silently. Trading a Tier 2 core for her loyalty and vitality was a bargain I was happy to make. I watched Lu Rian begin refining the core and cleared my mind from my own breakthrough. A sudden pop echoed from my gut like a bubble bursting. Was I finally a second-order beast? Ding. Lu Rian is refining the host's gift. 100x cultivation feedback is now in effect. A massive surge of blood and energy flooded my veins, sending my aura skyrocketing. My body stretched to nearly 40 meters before my bloodline hit its limit for this stage. This 100x feedback wasn't enough. My growth stalled at the middle of the second order. Lu Rian finished refining, thinking, finally, I'm at the late second order. I'll crush that snake soon. But then she felt my aura, dense, majestic, and thick with the heavy scent of slaughter. How did he advance again? She thought, her face twisting in pure, shocked disbelief. My breakthrough was lightning fast, and I celebrated by lounging on the grass, belly to the sun. She was fuming. She worked so hard while I got stronger just by taking a nap. She tried to convince herself that her own cultivation technique was simply superior at absorbing energy. Yes, that's it, she thought. With any other technique, I'd be miles ahead of this stinking python. She repeated it like a mantra, desperately trying to keep her pride from shattering completely. If the world knew a reborn empress was losing to a common snake, she'd be a laughingstock. She doubled down on her training, while I felt my own power blooming with every breath. If snakes could actually smile, I'd be grinning from ear to ear right about now. As we rested, a strange, powerful aura suddenly swept across the land for hundreds of miles. What is that? I thought, as Lu Rian and I both snapped our heads up at the same time. The energy was too vast to track. Could a legendary treasure have just appeared nearby? I need to hurry and see what's happening so I can snatch that treasure for myself. Lu Rian's eyes sharpened with an infinite, cold intensity as she looked toward the spirit altar. I suppressed the shock in my heart and flicked my tongue, sensing a massive fluctuation of energy. The distance wasn't far, and it only took us about 10 minutes to reach the site. The energy at the spirit altar was exploding, as if some Western treasure had just been unearthed. I cursed silently, knowing that even in this lower realm, a treasure like this was worth a fortune. I pushed forward against a dense current of spiritual resistance that felt like a physical wall. The spirit altar I visited before was dangerous, so I knew I had to be extremely careful. Lu Rian was on high alert, her entire focus locked on the altar as she struggled to move. Ding! System detects a mutation in the genius bunker. Dragon blood fruit has appeared. I thanked the system internally for the heads up. I used my tongue to taste the air and adjusted my scales, accelerating my speed through the grass. Suddenly, a dangerous pressure radiated from the distance, heavy enough to crush a lower-ranked beast. Being second order saved me. My bones didn't snap, but my movements became sluggish and heavy. Lu Rian couldn't handle it. The sheer weight of the aura pinned her to the spot. Seeing her struggle, I didn't hesitate to activate my own 100x Pressure King ability. I met the spiritual pressure head-on, shielding us both as we slithered forward together. My second-level aura wasn't enough to completely nullify the spirit altar's power. I could resist it for now, but if a third-order threat appeared, I wouldn't stand a chance. We finally closed in on the spirit altar's range, but something stopped us before we could get closer. A pillar of water as thick as a tank erupted from the spirit altar, surging with serpent power. A massive tree that blotted out the sun was struck by the blast and collapsed instantly. The destructive force was immense, so I kept my body moving to dodge the lethal spray. This spirit's strength was no joke, and even on my third visit, its offense was terrifying. But I wasn't afraid, charging forward recklessly while thinking, I'm going to kill you soon. The altar area finally came into view, covered in mossy pond water, mud, and jagged stones. In the center of the pond sat a flat, massive rock where the dark green spirit lay waiting. It stood at least 8 meters tall, with countless back bulges revealing its toxic potential. Before I could study it further, several more water columns shot out with even greater speed. Lu Rian and I didn't dare take them head-on. We needed a chance for a surprise attack. Lu Rian had no sense of fair play and vanished into the thicket to find an opening. I understood her plan. I would draw the fire while she waited for the perfect moment. Compared to this lone spirit, our biggest advantage was that we were two snakes working together. I pushed my speed to the limit, narrowly dodging every incoming strike just in time. I finally reached the edge of the bank and dove straight into the water. I felt the rush of the current, dodging water jets while marveling at the sensation. Even without solid ground, I mastered swimming instantly, as if a hidden talent had unlocked. I thought with contempt, if spitting water is your only trick, this hunt will be easy. But just as I lowered my guard, that evil spirit flashed a strange, twisted smile. A deep voice carrying destructive power echoed out, kicking up massive waves to stall my advance. Then a faint, foul stench hit me, a trap so subtle I never saw it coming. My scales stood on end as I realized the poison was colorless, odorless, and perfectly blended into the pond. I tried to scramble out of the water, but the poison acted like a thickener, turning the liquid into a viscous trap. The mixture was incredibly corrosive, and white mist began hissing off my scales as I surged my demonic power to resist the burn. Seeing me paralyzed in the muck, the water-avoiding spirit looked absolutely delighted. It had sensed my power earlier and knew those water jets wouldn't kill me, so it lured me into its toxic bath instead. But a second later, that smug, joyful grin froze right on its face. It watched me smoking and boiling in the rising heat of the water, yet I wasn't taking any real damage. I didn't hide my killing intent for a second, flooding my entire body with demonic energy to boost my strength and defense. Realizing I could shrug off its venom, the spirit stopped waiting and launched a proactive strike. Despite its massive size, it was unervingly agile, curling into a rolling ball of flesh to crush me. My pupils shrank. I didn't expect it to be this flexible, moving through the water without a hint of resistance. Die! I roared in my mind, lashing my massive tail toward the incoming mass. We collided with a deafening crack, sending a shockwave through the pond that blasted the water outward. The impact was insane, sending my entire body flying dozens of meters until I slammed into the bank. The spirit didn't even flinch, immediately charging at me again without needing a moment to recover. It was so fast it left afterimages, forcing me to throw myself to the side to avoid a direct hit. I wasn't fast enough. The blow caught my lower half, pinning me deep into the mossy stone of the underwater bank. I let out a hiss of agony as sharp pain radiated from my tail, thankful that my upper body had at least escaped the crush. I pushed off the rocks to keep moving while my demonic power worked frantically to repair the damage. Why hasn't he come out yet? I've been waiting here forever, coiled at the top of this towering tree on the bank, holding my breath. I, Lu Ruyan, am starting to panic as I watch the water's surface churn with the sounds of a brutal struggle. If he doesn't lure it out, there's no way to win. That golden toad is clearly the undisputed overlord of the depths. Neither I nor that stinking rice ball are water snakes. I'm not risking my life down there, so he's on his own until they hit land. Her words reached my ears, and I thought, you're just hiding on the shore? I thought you were looking for an opening underwater. Even though I was annoyed, I didn't hesitate now that I knew her plan, and I bolted straight for the surface. The water-avoiding spirit wasn't about to let me go that easily, chasing me through the dark water with relentless speed. I broke the surface, my tongue flickering as I tasted the air, and scrambled desperately toward the safety of the deep woods. Right behind me, the golden spirit erupted from the pond, sending a massive spray of water into the air. In that split second, a long emerald green shape shot down from the treetops, aiming straight for the toad's throat. Lu Ruyan's snake form is massive, easily able to coil around the toad, and her surprise strike sank her fangs deep into its neck. But the golden spirit reacted instantly, lashing its own long tongue out to wrap around the green snake in midair. Her venomous fangs pierced its skin, but she barely managed to inject a few drops before the counterattack hit. The toad's tongue whipped her upward, and Lu Ruyan felt the world spin as she was launched dozens of meters into the sky. The golden spirit didn't miss a beat, leaping after her with its bloody maw wide open, ready to swallow her whole. Is this where I die? Lu Ruyan thought, closing her eyes in regret as the toad's crushing grip made resistance impossible. The golden spirit's eyes burned with fury and smug satisfaction. If you dare to ambush a king, you pay the price. Just as the jaws were about to snap shut, I let out a hysterical roar and lunged back into the fray. I latched onto the spirit's legs, my massive body spiraling upward as I climbed the golden monster like a tree. The moment I reached its abdomen, I constricted with every ounce of my strength, determined to crush the life out of this ugly toad. The water-avoiding golden toad didn't even notice me, a silver-white giant python, closing in. But a split second later, the crushing force of my constriction sent a jolt of agony straight to its brain. Its long tongue went limp, instantly releasing Lu Ruyan from its suffocating grip. Lu Ruyan snapped her eyes open, clearly terrified, but her instincts kicked in immediately. As she fell, she found her footing, spun around, and sank her fangs back into the toad's flesh. She was determined to pump every last drop of her toxins into that monster's body. I unhinged my own massive jaws, baring my razor-sharp fangs to join the feast. I wanted my venom coursing through its veins alongside hers. Just as we thought we had the upper hand, the golden toad let out a deafening, enraged roar. Its true power finally exploded, and with a piercing shriek, the beast launched itself into the air. It tried to use the sheer force of the jump to shake both of us off its body. The momentum was too much for Lu Ruyan, and she was sent flying through the sky. Luckily, she landed right on the spirit altar, the impact cushioned by the dense energy. The spiritual aura surged into her, instantly replenishing the void left by her depleted medicinal power. I wasn't about to let go, so I abandoned my next bite and coiled around its abdomen with everything I had. The toad reached the peak of its jump and looked down to see me, still clinging to its belly. Its stubby limbs couldn't reach me, so it relied on its massive weight to bring me down. It used its core strength to accelerate the fall, aiming to crush me against the earth upon impact. We hit the ground with a thunderous boom, sending dirt and uprooted grass flying in every direction. The shockwave nearly tore me loose, but I held on, ready to sink my fangs into its soft underbelly. I unhinged my jaws and opened my mouth wide. I thought, thanks for the opening. The golden toad had no neck to look down, but it felt my fangs sinking deep into its belly. A sudden chill raced through its entire frame, followed by a wave of total numbness. It tried to mobilize its demonic power to resist the liquid and flush the toxin out. The beast was about to hit the ground, and its frozen limbs were guaranteed to shatter upon impact. But unfortunately for me, the venom shifted its effect just as it was about to land. The toad landed firmly and croaked in triumph, thinking its own power had neutralized the poison. Then its expression froze as its body temperature skyrocketed, like flames were surging through its veins. In a single minute, it had felt both ice and fire, and it desperately tried to jump back into the pond. but its thoughts turned sluggish as a crushing exhaustion spread from its brain to its limbs. A spike of agony jolted it awake before it slammed back into the dirt with a heavy thud. I wondered to myself, is my venom really this potent? I didn't stop there. I coiled around its throat to finish it off, even though I was running on empty. Lu Rian watched in shock, wondering how a mere python had developed such lethal toxins. Even with my powerful poisonous smoke, that stubborn spirit beast struggled for another half hour. I didn't let go until I felt its heart stop beating for good. It was finally dead, and I needed that third-order demon core to restore our strength. I found the core shortly after and tossed it directly to the green snake without hesitation. Lu Rian caught it and stood there stunned, thinking, is he really just giving this to me? I've given her so many demon cores that she's getting used to it, but I still wonder, why am I so good to her? For a moment, she looked deeply moved, yet completely incredulous about what was happening. Her expression was a mess of emotions, so I gestured for her to hurry up and swallow it before she changed her mind. She thought, this is a treasure, why hesitate? He gave it to this empress willingly, so I'll take it as his atonement. Lu Rian recalled my previous impulsive actions and convinced herself this was my way of apologizing for being reckless. That's what she told herself, anyway, but only she knows what she's actually feeling deep down. Ding! A shift in Lu Rian's mental state detected. Affinity increased by 5 points, bringing the total to 11. I was shocked. Did this perverted snake finally find her conscience, or did my silent contributions finally pay off? As the third-order demon core hit her stomach, a massive surge of demonic power erupted, and she immediately began her cultivation technique. The chaotic energy inside her was rapidly refined, flushing out the impurities and leaving only pure, elite power behind. Her cultivation climbed to the late stage of the first order. It was impressive, even if a third-order core only moved the needle a bit. My own physical strength recovered quickly as well, though I didn't quite reach the late stage of the second order. Ding. System detects Lu Rian consumed the core. Reward granted. 100x power supernatural ability. Scale hardening. If I'd had this back in the water, that wall of water wouldn't have been able to chase me so helplessly. This felt a little late. Just as we prepared to dive into the spiritual pool, a strange, brilliant light suddenly flashed from the depths. Ding. System detects a change in the dragon blood fruit within the spiritual pool. Objective. Retrieve the fruit. The fruit can vastly improve a demonic bloodline, and the system determined Lu Rian needs it, so I had to go get it for her. I stopped thinking, and, without a single word, I dove straight back into the spiritual pool. But the moment I submerged, I regretted it. The light was so blindingly intense I couldn't even keep my eyes open. Meanwhile, Lu Rian stayed on the shore, watching the strange phenomenon cautiously, not daring to enter the water just yet. But after seeing me dive in, she mustered her courage and followed my figure down into the deep pool. The pool was incredibly deep, at least 100 meters, and the further down I went, the more the piercing cold resisted me. The spiritual aura down here was so dense it had turned into liquid, making it impossible to see the bottom through the glow. Suddenly, I sensed a presence, a fruit vibrating with rich vitality, and I followed that trail through the darkness. I finally fumbled onto the dragon blood fruit. It was 30 centimeters wide, pure white, and shaped like a miniature dragon egg. I gently grabbed the fruit and swam back toward the surface, spotting Lu Rian lingering in the shallower water. She thought, it's too cold down there. This empress can't take it. This bamboo viper's bloodline is just too thin and impure. Lu Rian was frantically cursing her own lineage, despising her current form to the absolute extreme. Seeing she had no idea what kind of treasure I'd found, I tossed the dragon blood fruit to her and signaled, quick, swallow this. Just as we were about to take a breather, I sensed a presence approaching from the distance, and my caution flared up again. I shoved the dragon blood fruit into her mouth. Caught off guard by my sudden roughness, she swallowed it whole. Lu Rian's body temperature skyrocketed instantly as her stomach began frantically absorbing the fruit's essence. In just seconds, the fruit was fully digested, transforming into raw energy that surged directly into her bloodline. She let out a pained groan as her bloodline began to evolve, a process as agonizing as being flayed alive. Her soft skin hardened into green armor, and flesh buds sprouted from her head as 2 short whiskers appeared near her nose. Then, her body expanded several times over, until she was almost as massive as I am. Lu Rian completed her evolution quickly, her eyes wide as she felt the power shifting within her veins. Ding. System detects Lu Rian has completed a bloodline evolution. 100x reward granted immediately. In an instant, my silver-white giant python form expanded even further, my scales shimmering with new power. The horns on my forehead transformed once again, sharpening into the singular, majestic point of a unicorn horn. I shed that silver-white snake skin, and in no time, a hard, shimmering spiritual armor grew in its place. My transformation into a dragon had officially begun, white mist swirling with every breath I took. Ding. Congratulations on becoming a Yunqiangio, a top-tier spiritual species. I was finally more than just a white snake. Lu Rian stared at me, thinking, how did he evolve too? I was the one who ate the dragon blood fruit. Could this stinking loach also be a reincarnated expert using a secret bloodline evolution method? She was desperately trying to make sense of it, while I simply focused on the raw power surging through my spine. I see, I underestimated him, she thought. Now he's actually qualified to be my personal guard. Hearing her inner monologue made me smirk. The excuses she invented for my growth were surprisingly convenient. But our moment of reflection was cut short as countless figures rushed toward us from the distance. The horde was massive, packed with second and third order beasts leading an endless wave of lower-level monsters. Tigers, bears, and boars led the charge, followed by swarms of wolves, eagles, and apes. Instead of feeling fear as they closed in, both Lu Rian and I felt a surge of predatory excitement. The moment we clashed, we both opened our maws and sprayed a massive cloud of lethal venom. Several second-order demonic beasts collapsed instantly, unable to withstand the toxic mist. The venom hissed as it hit their eyes, corroding flesh into white smoke upon impact. The beasts hit the ground one after another, clawing at their faces and howling in agony. It was strange how these different species were coordinating so perfectly just to take the two of us down. I didn't waste a single word. I simply unleashed my king's pressure domain upon the battlefield. In an instant, at least 100 first-level beasts were crushed into the dirt, unable to even stand. Between my king's aura and my superior dragon bloodline, nothing here could resist my absolute authority. Go ahead, dare to covet my throne, Lu Rian thought, and become the fuel for my path to supremacy. She was incredibly fast, a single tail sweep enough to kill several first-level demonic beasts. I didn't know why, but we felt like a perfect pair, our movements completely synchronized. But my celestial vault dragon tail was the real difference-maker, crushing tigers, bears, and boars in one sweep. Right then, a flock of giant birds appeared in the distance, soaring toward us. My eyes burned with predatory intent as I lunged into the air, straight for those eagles. This mid-air leap was a new gift from my evolution. I could now perform short flights and hover at will. Die, I thought. If you weren't hiding in the sky, you wouldn't stand a chance against me on the ground. The eagles scrambled to flap their wings and dodge, but they were nowhere near as fast as a white dragon snake. A single leap was all it took to tear through second and third order beasts with effortless ease. That's the power of the dragon snake bloodline. In an instant, over a dozen birds plummeted to the earth. Down on the ground, Lu Rian was holding her own, though the sheer number of beasts was relentless. Her hardened scales kept her safe while she unleashed her own explosive, raw power. She lunged and coiled around several beasts at once, crushing them until the air reeked of iron and blood. Just as she was turning the tide on her own, I dropped back down to the ground. I wondered if I should push this pervert to her limits, but I quickly shook the thought away. With my system, why would I risk my future consort? I dove back in, and the slaughter was almost too easy. In just over half an hour, every single beast that dared to attack us lay dead. Lu Rian huffed. She was too tired to eat the corpses now, so she just gathered their cores for later. But just as we thought it was over, an exceptionally powerful aura suddenly surged nearby. A pitch-black turtle emerged before us, its shell etched with tattoos radiating pure destruction. This isn't good, I thought. This thing is high rank. It spoke in a human tongue, meaning it had refined its vocal bones, a sign of at least a fourth-level beast. Lu Rian froze. She never expected her presence to lure out something this powerful. The system chimed in. Drive away the black iron turtle, a fifth-level demonic beast. My heart sank. It wasn't level 4, it was level 5. There was no way to fight this. I tried to wrap my tail around Lu Rian to flee, but she fought me off, refusing to budge. How could an empress be scared of a turtle? She thought, her resolve hardening. She knew if she gave up this spiritual altar now, she might never get it back. You're looking for death, you pervert. I hissed. What happened to being cautious? I tried to coil around her again to force her away, but she rejected me a second time. Why is this stinky loach acting so broken? She wondered. He seemed so brave before. She looked at me and whispered, thank you. But I will give you something to believe in. The black iron turtle narrowed its eyes, noticing our blood-stained scales and our defiance. It had no reason to fear us. It just wanted the treasure before it finished us off. I hissed a warning, frustrated that I couldn't speak to tell this level 5 monster to back off. You dare resist me? The turtle barked, laughing at the pathetic sound of my hiss. Its demonic power erupted, conjuring a gale that shredded the trees and knocked Lu Rian off her feet. Go, she yelled, but I wouldn't leave her side, and I couldn't leave the fight. I gripped her tail with every ounce of my strength. Let go of me, you stinking loach, she hissed, clearly underestimating the black iron turtle's power. Maybe she still had the pride of an empress, or maybe she just couldn't bear to lose this treasure. The black iron turtle was massive and slow, but its attack range was terrifyingly wide. A wave of demonic energy descended from the sky, scattering the forest floor before it even hit. Lu Rian and I were right in the blast zone, so I grit my teeth and pushed my speed to the limit. But we weren't fast enough. The shockwave slammed into us in the blink of an eye. We were sent flying hundreds of meters, snapping trees like toothpicks as we tumbled. I coughed up blood, my organs shattered, but my dragon spirit glowed to dull the pain. Lu Rian was in even worse shape. Her spiritual armor was failing and her skin was cracking. Her pupils dilated in shock. She never expected to be this vulnerable. The turtle moved slowly, but its demonic energy was lightning fast, leaving her unable to speak. I grit my teeth, coiled my tail around her, and fled blindly into the woods. Behind us, the turtle didn't even bother to give chase. To a fifth-level beast, we were just two low-level bugs crawling in the dirt. It turned its attention to the spiritual altar, claiming the territory as its own. I kept slithering until we were miles away, far from our old cave and the monster. "Don't die on me yet," I wheezed, feeling her life force fading against my back. I checked our surroundings one last time to make sure we weren't being followed. I laid her down gently, watching as her small, broken body trembled on the forest floor. She squeezed her eyes shut, her breath hitching as she slipped into a coma. I felt her faint heartbeat and let out a sigh of relief, despite the searing pain in my own gut. I found a spot to make contact, letting my demonic energy surge into her broken body. This was my first time using energy to heal. Normally, it stays locked inside until you reach the third order. I injected the energy through her bloodline, watching it flow through her green scales to knit her flesh back together. Lu Rian's organs were a mess, but they'd shift back into place after a few days of rest. The real problem was the internal hemorrhaging, but luckily, my energy wasn't ordinary. It carried the power of the Flood Dragon bloodline, though even that was working too slowly. I have to give her some of my essence blood. This girl is pathetic. She just got her strength back only to get thrashed again. I looked at her with pity, waiting for her surface wounds to close before preparing the essence. I summoned 3 drops of the dragon spirit blood, rewarded by the system. I pressed them against her pale lips, and the essence fused into her flesh instantly. I smiled bitterly, knowing it would take me 3 years to recover those drops if I didn't evolve soon. But without them, she wouldn't have woken up for another 2 or 3 years. A faint white light began to glow around her as her internal cultivation technique kicked in automatically. The essence blood vanished into her system, healing nearly 80% of her injuries in seconds. Good, you're not going to die on me. Now, it's my turn to crash. I collapsed onto the dirt, my vision blurring as my eyes finally drifted shut. As I slept, my Beast King aura flared up, wrapping us both in a protective, invisible pressure. I was jolted awake by a constant, throbbing tide of pain from my internal organs shifting back into place. Lu Rian finally woke up, thinking to herself that I had kept her waiting far too long. Does this brat not remember my kindness? My essence blood didn't flow for nothing. Next time I put in this much effort, I'll make sure she's watching. As I grumbled internally, Lu Rian's gaze suddenly turned complex. She realized the help this stinky loach gave her was massive, sensing my essence lingering in her veins. She felt a rare spark of gratitude, vowing to remember the favor I did while she was unconscious. The system chimed, detecting her shift in mood and increasing her favorability by 10 points. Holy hell, she actually had a revelation. At this rate, total conquest isn't far off. Being a suck-up doesn't work, but saving her life when she's desperate, that gets results. I tried to get up and move, but Lu Rian's demeanor shifted instantly. She realized her wounds were real and decided she had to reclaim the spiritual altar and kill that turtle. With rage burning in her eyes, she turned her back on me and started walking away. Wait, is this idiot going back to pick a fight with a rank 5 beast again? Damn it. I struggled to stand, but a sharp pain in my gut sent me crashing back to the dirt with a loud thud. The noise caught her attention, and for a moment, her stoic face softened as she hesitated. There's hope, so I turned on the acting skills, rolling on the ground and hissing in fake agony. She looked at me with helplessness, asking if it hurt that much and if she should stay to care for me. She turned around, her compassion finally winning out over her desire for revenge. I laughed wickedly inside. I stopped her from committing suicide and leveled up our relationship at the same time. I really can't do anything with you, Lu Rian sighed as she walked back toward me. I stopped writhing and just stared her down with a gaze that was bold, sincere, and direct. Why is he looking at me like that? She thought, losing the staring contest and turning her head away. Ding. The system detected a shift in her mindset, and her favorability jumped by 4 points. The notification caught me off guard. Just looking at her earn me points? What the hell is going on? I realized that once a small spark of interest is lit, it's easy to turn it into a raging fire. What is this filthy lamprey looking at? I'll twist his eyes out sooner or later, she huffed, acting smug. Hearing the system's tempting voice, I tried to widen my gaze to farm more points, but she just glared. You want to twist my eyes out? Not a chance. I snorted and flopped back onto the ground to heal. Maybe I should hunt some prey for her, get her some kidneys to help her recover from her wounds. Just as I was focusing on my recovery, Lu Rian's hesitant voice drifted over from the side. Go on, go quickly, go hunt for yourself, and then bring the kidneys to me. I swear, she's starting to operate on autopilot now. She's practically taking care of herself. Actually, I won't go. I'll stay right here and make sure nothing happens to this filthy lamprey. She checked my injuries and realized they weren't fatal. I'd be fine after 2 days of rest. But for some reason, seeing me in pain made her feel pity, forcing her to stay by my side. Hearing her give up on her revenge just to watch over me left me speechless. I gave a cold snort in my mind and said nothing else, focusing entirely on mending my body. 2 days passed, and my wounds finally closed. Now, I need that spiritual altar back, but not yet. Once I was fully healed, I transformed into a butcher and began a wild slaughter through the thick jungle. Lu Rian's realm rose to the middle stage of a second-order demonic beast, and the 100x feedback kicked in. Congratulations to the host for becoming a middle-stage, third-order demonic beast. Days of nonstop slaughter barely pushed me to the middle of the third order, but my power is now off the charts. I can easily punch above my weight class now. Even taking down a fifth-order beast isn't impossible. But I'm no fool. I have time to grow, so why rush into a deathmatch? My plan is to hit the fourth order before I even think about a real fight. Lu Rian, however, has the exact opposite idea. Once I hit the third order, I'm going to skin that stinking turtle, she thought, obsessed with that altar. She's constantly paranoid about enemies from beyond, wanting to reach the top as fast as possible for her revenge. This woman is more of a tigress than a snake. Why is she so worried when she has me? I led her through the thick jungle, aimlessly hunting down demonic beasts to pass the time. Then it hit me. I still haven't synthesized a new supernatural power. I have dozens of powers now, but none of them are the one. System, fuse my powers. Ding. Congratulations on obtaining the Ancient Death Array. Specifically, the single-use 9 Underworlds soul-devouring annihilation array. In its peak form, this ancient array can slay a great emperor. Even this low-level version can wipe out every demonic beast up to the 5th order in one shot. Talk about perfect timing. That old turtle is as good as dead, and that altar is mine. I was so hyped I couldn't help but shout. Time for some payback. Why is this brat so excited? Is he really that happy about hitting the third order? Lu Rian wondered, annoyed. The black iron turtle watched us, confused, and didn't attack immediately. Those two snakes grew stronger, but a third and second order are no threat to a fifth-order beast like me, it thought. Lu Rian whipped around, her eyes burning with rage as if she wanted to slap me. Ha ha ha, 2 ants. You think you can face me? I won't even need full strength to crush you, the turtle mocked. I've never been afraid. I just want to pass through without a scratch, so I smiled with disdain. Lu Rian didn't get it. If I wasn't going to attack, she'd take that spiritual altar from the stinking turtle herself. Just as she tried to break free from my grip, a light flashed across the sky, and an array disc appeared before me. I poured my strength into it, and the disc expanded to the size of a fish tank, covered in mysterious, glowing symbols. A sharp cracking sound echoed as the disc shattered, scattering countless fragments into the distance. Lu Rian froze, her movements interrupted by the strange phenomenon of the array disc appearing. I didn't expect to see an array disc here. A first-stage formation shouldn't be able to produce one, she thought. What is this? It looks fancy, but it probably has 0 destructive power, the turtle sneered, never having seen such an artifact. Pure arrogance. I ignored the chatter, surprised the opponent was being this careless. Only seconds passed since the disc broke, but the clear sky was already drowning in dark clouds and lightning. Countless pale blue glows and inscriptions connected heaven and earth, bringing an atmosphere of pure extinction for miles. I kept my eyes wide open, wanting to memorize every detail of this legendary formation. An ancient killing array, Lu Rian screamed internally, her mind reeling. What exactly is happening here? The black iron turtle finally panicked as a terrifying aura locked onto its soul. Who is doing this? The turtle cried out, spinning its massive body in circles, searching for an enemy it couldn't find. Overlapping layers of black halos reappeared in the air, with dark shadows shifting inside them as the breath of destruction flowed out. Countless ghostly silhouettes emerged on the horizon, bringing a terrifying pressure that felt like it could crush heaven and earth. The black iron turtle was pinned down by that weight, unable to breathe as the massive force slammed it into the dirt. In that moment, the world changed again, filled with endless chains of mystic black iron that pulsed with dark energy. Every creature in this sandstorm fell to the ground in submission, not even daring to lift their heads. A voice like a divine judge echoed as an illusory shadow floated between heaven and earth, holding the book of life and death. Black streaks shot from the shadow's pen, slamming into the turtle and burrowing deep into its flesh. The black iron turtle let out a silent scream of agony as its very soul was torn apart from the inside. Within seconds, its eyes went dull, it slumped over, and the black energy vanished into the wind as if it were never there. If that massive corpse wasn't lying right in front of us, I wouldn't have believed such a killing array could exist. The power of this ancient array was terrifying, and I swallowed hard, my desire to grow stronger burning more than ever. Who exactly is he, and how does he have an ancient killing array? Lu Rian thought, completely shocked by my direct gaze. I have to stay on his good side. He'll be a perfect ally when I return to conquer the 33 heavens, she realized. Lu Rian's mind was spinning frantically, the typical calculating brain of a dragon empress. I have to hand it to her. She thinks fast. She's having a whole internal brainstorm, completely unaware that I've already read every single one of her thoughts. So, she wants to play nice now? Perfect. I don't even have to lift a finger to make her behave. I used to be a pure and noble gentleman, but I think this snake body's instincts are starting to corrupt me. But hey, everyone needs a hobby, right? I don't smoke or drink, so what's wrong with liking a little beauty? Lu Rian has no clue what I'm thinking, but her attitude is improving, so I'll go check that dead turtle for loot. Whether she likes it or not, this empress has to get her share first. Both the demon core and the physical body of this beast are right here for the taking. This massive amount of blood energy makes the turtle a top-tier tonic, especially for a fifth-order beast. As I approached the black iron turtle, I couldn't hide my hunger. I wanted to swallow the whole thing. The only problem is its size. If I forced it down, my stomach would probably explode. I decided to give her the demon core so she wouldn't die, and she noticed my intense gaze and stepped back, just as Lu Rian was about to close her eyes and accept her fate. "Thank you," I said, offering her the prize. She was stunned, thinking, I saw him drooling over this, yet now he's feeding me. I didn't eat a bite, and when she looked back at the corpse, her jaw hit the floor. The massive turtle had already been butchered, its meat separated from the bone and its shell cast aside. This white snake actually tore it apart for me. Why is he so good to me? She wondered. Her eyes filled with emotion, and for the first time, she was completely speechless. System, change in Lu Rian's mindset detected. Affinity plus 15. Total affinity, 35. A 15-point jump? Even I'm shocked that a little gesture moved her this much. Maybe he wants me to eat with him? No, I don't need it. He should have it, she told herself. She turned her head away, trying to ignore the sight of the delicious, high-energy meat. Did she really think I couldn't hear her stomach growl? I heard her swallow hard. Since she was drooling but refusing to move, I picked up a choice cut and held it right in front of her. Come on, little empress, drop the act. I'm not done having my fun with you yet. My mood is actually pretty good. It seems this perverted snake has finally found his conscience. What a dilemma for Her Majesty. Clearly, I wanted him to eat first. Lu Rian's voice wavered. She raised her head, meeting my bright, sincere gaze, and finally stopped suppressing her appetite. She took the piece of meat, opened her mouth, and swallowed it whole. Is this okay? Isn't it a bit awkward? An empress has to maintain her image, after all. Lu Rian was actually starting to worry about her image in front of me, but I just pretended not to notice. I wrapped my tail around her and carried her over to the black iron turtle's carcass so she could feast. Her Majesty refused, but he insisted I eat, she muttered, her voice carrying a hint of a grievance. Fine, since he told me to eat, I have no choice but to reluctantly consume this raw food. Lu Rian swallowed hard, still keeping her head high, but her tone was incredibly smug. She saw everything I did for her and tucked it away deep in her heart. I finally started eating too, so nutritious, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. After devouring this turtle, my physical body will definitely grow even stronger. As for that fifth-order demon core, I'm definitely hitting level 4 once I swallow it. Just then, hundreds of demon beasts emerged from the surrounding shadows. Over 80 first-order beasts, 10 second-order beasts, and a few third-order ones appeared. They were clearly the turtle's former subordinates, but I wasn't sure of their intentions yet. We both braced for battle, but I didn't take these 100 beasts seriously at all. I'm a third-order beast now. If I push myself, I'm practically fourth-order. Suddenly, every single beast dropped to the ground and let out a low, rhythmic sound in unison. These beasts are celebrating because they don't have to run from me anymore. On the outside, I look dignified and majestic, but inside, I'm thrilled to be the boss for once. Before I could even process it, the monsters started pushing all sorts of things toward me. They brought piles of century-old herbs, gold jewelry, and glowing gemstones of every color. A tribute just for me? I nodded with satisfaction. These guys actually have some common sense. I didn't take it all. I only picked a few medicinal herbs and left the rest as a bribe to win their loyalty. Seeing my benevolence, the monsters grew even more excited, clearly thinking their new king is a good snake. Stick with me, and as long as I have a bite of meat, you'll at least have a sip of soup. Just as I was preparing to inspect my new territory, a voice called out from behind me. Lu Rian was stuffed to the point of barely being able to speak, yet she held out the demon core for me. I didn't want to refuse, so I nudged the core back toward her mouth, signaling for her to eat it instead. Wait, is she trying to hand feed me? What exactly am I thinking right now? Lu Rian didn't know what was on my mind, so she just shrugged and swallowed the core in one gulp. I clicked my tongue, looking at her with a complicated expression. Her head is full of impure thoughts. I can't even imagine two snakes entangled like that. The mental image is way too shocking. No, wait, she's still just a second-rank beast, and that's a fifth-rank core she just swallowed. She finally snapped out of her confusion and realized the fatal mistake she'd just made. She immediately activated her cultivation techniques, desperately trying to devour that massive surge of power. But the force was too much. She began rolling on the ground as her green scales turned a burning red. This is bad. I have to help her. Her body was as stiff as an ironclad turtle, but under my touch, she finally began to soften. I need to guide her cultivation now, so this perverted snake can absorb as much demonic power as possible. I surged my own energy into Lu Rian, forcing the power to circulate through her meridians until her cultivation began to skyrocket. I've reached the third rank. Lu Rian screamed internally, her heart racing with excitement. That fifth rank core almost killed her, but it pushed her straight into the late stages of the third rank. But before she could even celebrate, a massive wave of demonic aura erupted from my body right next to her. Fourth rank, and it's still climbing? What kind of monster is he? Whose reincarnation is this? Lu Rian's excitement vanished, replaced by awe as my aura stabilized at the peak of the 4th rank, dense and terrifying. I instinctively tried to speak, but the bone in my throat stopped me. I realized then, I can finally start refining my vocal cords. Once I refine them, I'll be able to speak again. Being unable to communicate for this long has been suffocating. I'm already at the 4th rank without using a single pill or resource. Is he following the path of slaughter? Does he grow stronger by absorbing the blood and killing intent of others? Lu Rian was lost in her fantasies, convinced I was some ancient overlord of death who advanced just by existing. Wait, I feel light. My body feels weightless, lighter than it's ever been before. I activated my demonic power, and, in the next second, my massive python body actually lifted off the ground and soared into the sky. I can only stay airborne for a short time, but it's a start. By the 5th or 6th rank, I'll truly own the clouds. The sensation was strange. My body felt like it was walking, but my eyes saw the world from above. I need more practice. Flight at the 4th rank? He really is a reincarnation. Normally, you'd need to be at least rank 5 to even dream of flying. Lu Rian gets it. Once she hits the 4th rank, she'll be able to fly too. The moment I landed, I made a discovery. I can fly, and I can finally refine my hyoid bone. If my theory is right, ranks 4 through 6 form one massive cultivation stage. I need to focus on my vocal cords first so I can start talking again. I ignored the spiritual energy and focused entirely on the muscles in my throat. Lu Rian watched me head toward the spiritual altar without a single backward glance. As a member of the Dragon Clan, she hated the idea of crawling on the ground like a worm. She whispered to herself, "It doesn't matter, I just have to train harder." She's not far from the 4th rank, and she's desperate to reach it as soon as possible. Lu Rian gritted her teeth, her eyes full of fire as she began frantically absorbing energy. I watched her and felt a surge of satisfaction. She's the perfect little worker bee. I haven't even given her an order yet, and she's already pushing herself to the limit. Days passed until, finally, I managed to force a sound out of my raspy throat. Lu Rian snapped out of her cultivation, startled by the strange noise. I turned my head toward her and let out the greeting I'd been practicing for so long. Is this little brat actually greeting me? She wondered, impressed by my spirit. She hummed to herself, thinking, good, a servant should always be the first to speak. She kept her face cold and distant, but inside, she was feeling incredibly smug. I ignored her arrogant thoughts and said, hello, my name is Su Jinlong. Su Jinlong, I'll remember that, she thought, but to me, you're still just a brat. Lu Rian nodded coldly, signaling she understood, though her inner voice remained as arrogant as ever. I hope we get along from now on and help each other reach the great Tao, I said, keeping a respectful distance. Since you proposed it, I suppose I have no choice but to accept, she thought, acting like she was doing me a favor. Even though she knew I couldn't hear her thoughts, she answered me in her mind and gave a stiff nod. I thought to myself, man, she's cold. But right then, I sensed several powerful auras rapidly approaching from the distance. Senior brother, this must be the spirit's secret realm, right? That treasure should be ready to hatch any day now. Up in the sky, several figures dressed in Taoist robes converged and began flying together. Yes, my uncle discovered this blessed land a century ago, but the treasure wasn't ripe yet, so we left it. The middle-aged man leading them wore a superior smirk, sensing the massive spiritual energy leaking from the realm. Master is right. It's a shame the Grandmaster passed away. He missed seeing this by only a few years. The leader was clearly the strongest, carrying 3 other people on his single flying sword. A playful glint flashed in the leader's eyes as he urged the group to move faster toward the treasure's location. The group consisted of the leader, an outer court elder, and 2 inner court disciples brought along for training. The leader remembered a 5th-rank demonic beast nearby, but he was confident the 4 of them could handle it. Master, a 1,000-year-old spirit medicine is appearing in a month. Should we try to take it? The lead disciple asked. Even if we can't win it, shouldn't we go to see the geniuses from other sects? I'll give you 2 spots to go and observe the peak stage spirit guide experts and early stage masters, the master replied. The outer court elder laughed, knowing the sect would send their true disciples to actually do the fighting. Don't be discouraged, he added. You aren't top-tier geniuses, but you're still the core talent of our sect. They reached the mid-stage of spirit guide at only 20 years old, the inner court elder added, trying to keep their spirits high. Thank you, Master. We won't let you down, the disciples replied, their eyes burning with the desire to witness a true peak-level clash. Their conversation drifted into my ears. As a Jiao, my hearing and physical senses are incredibly sharp, even from hundreds of meters away. 1,000-year-old spirit medicine? Interesting. I need to snatch one of them and find out exactly what that's about. If a 100-year medicine could boost my bloodline, I can't imagine the power of a 1,000-year one. The gains would be massive. With Lu Rian still cultivating at the altar, I slipped out of the water and onto the shore, suppressing my breath to look like a common beast. That middle-aged man said they were coming to the altar for the medicine, so I'll just wait right here for them. In a matter of seconds, the 4 cultivators touched down. The inner court elder was calm at first, but his face twisted in shock when he sensed my Jiao aura on the riverbank. Master, it's a rank 3 beast. Should we kill it? I want to keep it as a pet. The 2 disciples plotted loudly and shamelessly. It has to die. It already ate the spirit medicine to evolve this far. If we don't act now, it'll become too strong to handle. The elder's face darkened with rage at the thought of a mere beast devouring a 100-year-old treasure. The four of them didn't rush, staring at me as if I were already a trophy in the palm of their hands. You two go, the elder commanded through gritted teeth. Use this beast to practice for the 1,000-year medicine hunt. He clearly thought attacking me himself was beneath him, considering he was a mid-stage Foundation establishment expert. To him, I was just a simple target, not worth the effort of a master. I watched them, thinking, go ahead, keep plotting out loud right in front of me. I stayed perfectly still, waiting for the right moment to launch a sneak attack and pull their arrogance out by the roots. As the saying goes, if you don't cut the weeds at the root, the spring breeze will only bring them back to life. Master, we'll skin that demon snake and drain its blood for you, the disciples shouted, rubbing their hands together with bloodthirsty excitement. The beast is already at rank 3, while these two are only at the 2nd level. One-on-one, they wouldn't stand a chance, but with two of them, the outcome is uncertain. Especially with their master backing them up, they felt invincible. The elder promised them my demon core and essence blood to boost their cultivation. Seeing his disciples' lack of fear, the inner court elder's grim expression finally softened. The two young men leaped from their flying swords and drew the long blades from their waists. They charged straight at me, clearly planning to overwhelm me with numbers. I narrowed my eyes as they approached, circulating the internal force in my core in total silence. I concentrated every ounce of my strength, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The senior disciple let out a cold shout, his face twisted with blatant murderous intent. But in the next second, the easy hunt they expected completely flipped on its head. I hissed as my power surged, and the internal force in my core exploded outward like a gale. Before they could even land, I had already slithered forward to meet them. I didn't even need to open my mouth. The raw force radiating from my body was enough. At rank 3, my internal energy can finally manifest outside of my physical form. This was my first time using it in combat, and it manifested as 2 whips of pure white energy. The strike was so fast it was invisible to the naked eye. The 2 cultivators screamed as their swords fell, and my energy whips coiled around their necks. I tightened the grip instantly, and a sickening crack of snapping bone echoed through the air. Their heads slumped, held onto their bodies by nothing more than a thin layer of skin. He had raised that disciple for 20 years, only for him to die in a second. The inner court elder was beyond indignant. He wanted my life as payment. He and the outer sect elder charged at me together to avenge their fallen kin. They really think they can kill me? Do they think I'll just stand still and take it? As the 2 remaining humans launched their desperate offensive, I didn't flinch. I moved with calm precision, my massive body shifting without a hint of haste. A demonic beast's flesh is powerful by nature, but mine is on another level. With the dragon snake bloodline flowing through me, their killing intent meant nothing. Their twin attacks slammed into me, triggering a massive shockwave. In an instant, my entire form was swallowed by a thick cloud of white mist. Die? Give me back my disciple, the inner court elder roared, his voice hoarse with rage. He lunged forward, intending to blow me into 1,000 pieces and scatter my bones. Is that all? You see me as a mere animal, but you're no better than I am. The mist cleared, revealing that I was completely unscathed. My scale armor shimmered brilliantly under the midday sun. The distance between us had closed to almost nothing, which was exactly my plan. I hadn't rushed my counterattack because I wanted them in close quarters range. Ranged attacks are just for show. True power lies in the physical strike. I coiled my body like a divine dragon, and the elder's pupils suddenly contracted in fear. He realized too late that being this close to me was a death sentence. He shouted for his partner to lend a hand, but as the words left his mouth, his brother was nowhere to be seen. The junior behind him had already bolted, a streak of light tearing through the sky as he fled in haste. I thought, thanks for the opening. The distance vanished, and the inner court elder's retreat was far slower than my dragon tongue. The moment I began to constrict, the elder's power erupted in a desperate, final burst. His face turned a deep crimson as he lost control, falling backward while clawing at the tongue wrapped around him. He tried to tear the muscle away from his neck, only to find my body was as unyielding as ancient iron. I was as immovable as a mountain, and damn it, was the last thought to cross the elder's mind. He closed his eyes as I strangled the life out of him, my sticky tongue tightening its lethal grip. The sickening sound of shattering bones echoed through the air, and I knew I couldn't let the other one escape. If you don't pull the weeds by the root, the spring breeze will just bring them back to life. If that inner court elder had kept his distance, he would have been a difficult opponent to take down. But since I lured him into close quarters combat, it was a total massacre. I played to my strengths and struck his weaknesses, and then I finally released the corpse. The body had been crushed into a pulp, and once I was sure he was dead, I put all my strength into the chase. The outer sect elder wasn't particularly strong, his cultivation only being at the early stages. In this world's terms, he was a rank 4, and I pushed my body to its absolute limit to close the gap. My massive frame tore through the air currents as I lunged across the earth toward my prey. I let out a low, guttural roar. You aren't going anywhere. In the blink of an eye, I caught him, coiling my body around him to ensure there would be no more surprises. I used my massive body to coil around him, holding him firm without crushing him just yet. He begged for release, but I demanded, "Tell me about the 1,000-year spiritual medicine." My scales pressed against the outer sect elder from every side as I tightened my hold. My head, as large as the front of a car, loomed inches from his face until he felt my burning breath. "I'll talk, just don't kill me. It took me so long to become an elder. I never wanted you dead." The elder was literally pissing himself in terror, his lips turning pale as he teetered on the edge of a heart attack. I hissed at him, "Cut the nonsense and get to the point. What is the situation with that 1,000-year spiritual medicine?" I asked, my eyes burning with ferocity. My voice carried the low, deafening rumble of a dragon that shook him to his very soul. "It's a trial. It just opened outside Wanqing Prefecture because a 1,000-year medicine was born. In 1 month, the major sects are sending their disciples into the remote wilds to compete for it. The sects are using the central zone as a hunting ground to polish their young geniuses." The outer sect elder curled into a pathetic ball, his entire frame shaking uncontrollably. He was utterly terrified of being face-to-face with a demonic serpent of my size. "Do you have a map?" I asked, knowing I had to seize this rare opportunity for myself. If a 100-year dragon blood fruit was powerful, I couldn't even imagine the potency of a 1,000-year medicine. The elder tried to reach for a map inside his storage ring, but my coils were too tight for him to move. "It's in my ring. Please, I'll give you the whole ring." I didn't answer him. I just let out a guttural roar that nearly scared the life out of him. "Just loosen up a little," he whimpered, "and I'll hand it over right now." I loosened my coils just enough to let the human move his arms and reach for the map. The elder pulled the ring from his finger and handed it over, the spiritual light of the artifact dimming as he released his mental link. He pulled the map out. A storage ring like this is no ordinary item, reserved only for sect elders and inner disciples. Handling a storage ring can be tricky, mostly because the difficulty of refining one is incredibly high. The cost is steep, but they are easy to use because thousands of years of cultivation history have perfected the process. A single drop of blood is all it takes for the ring to recognize a new master and establish a soul connection. Once bound, I could check the items stored in the spatial pocket with nothing more than a single thought. This particular ring was a low-level model, containing a space of only about 5 square meters. "This is the map," he stammered, "and this is our current location in the province mountains." With trembling hands, the elder unfurled a map a meter wide and pointed to where the trial would take place. He clearly marked the location of the 1,000-year spiritual medicine, and I began to calculate my move. How long would it take to get there, and could I simply seize the medicine the moment I arrived? I didn't know the layout of this world yet, so I questioned him thoroughly on every detail. "It will take a month," he replied, "since a demonic beast of your size must avoid crowds and take the long way around." That raised another question in my mind. How much longer until I could finally transform into a human? I was dying to know when I'd reach that stage, hoping the opportunity would ripen soon. "According to the ancient records, only great demons of the 9th rank can take human form," the elder whispered. He looked like he was about to cry, terrified by my cold, unmoving serpent face and my apparent ignorance. The 9th rank? That was further off than I hoped, but not unacceptable since I was already at level 4. It meant I just needed to keep evolving and strengthening my soul to reach that peak. 5 more ranks to go. I finally understood everything I needed to know. Right after that, I got a better grasp of the current state of the continent, ruled by the Daza dynasty. This land is called Kyushu, a vast and massive territory where this elder's sect holds high rank in Wanqing Prefecture. Their sect master is at the peak of the court realm, but the specifics didn't matter. It was time to give this man a quick death. I tightened my coils around his head and feet, looking down at him coldly as he began to beg for his life. He didn't get the chance. I crushed him instantly, and his body shattered under my massive weight. When I let go, he was nothing but a pile of broken bones and mud scattered on the forest floor. There's a secret realm outside Wanqing Prefecture, and I have to see it for myself. I need that 1,000-year spiritual medicine, no matter what. I narrowed my eyes and forced a single drop of my blood onto the storage ring. The ring absorbed it completely and flashed with a light far brighter than when it was masterless. It was clear that I was the new owner, so I didn't waste another second and took to the air. I flew back the way I came, retracing my path until I reached the spiritual spring. Inside, Lu Rian was still deeply immersed in her cultivation, completely lost in the process. I approached her and forced her out of her meditative state, making her stop immediately. She looked at me in shock, realizing I had actually dared to interrupt an empress during her training. She was about to explode with rage, but she managed to suppress her disgust for a moment. "There is a 1,000-year spiritual medicine about to bloom," I told her, "and we are going to get it together." The dragon blood fruit she took before was only a century old. This would be 10 times more powerful. I pulled out the map and laid it in front of her, and her eyes lit up. We were going. We had to keep in mind that the local power structure was strict, but we had to try our luck. Lu Rian was furious until she heard about the miracle medicine. Suddenly, she decided my interruption was forgivable and the plan was feasible. She nodded eagerly and said, "Let's go right now, or we'll miss the opening of the secret realm." I couldn't help but scoff internally at how quickly this woman's attitude changed. The mere mention of 1,000-year spiritual medicine was enough to flip a switch. She calculated that with such a prize, she could finally ascend to the 5th rank. In her past life, she wouldn't have blinked at these items, but now they were priceless. She was determined to seize them and wouldn't let this opportunity slip away. This was it. We took off, kicking up a massive spray of water as we headed straight for the city prefecture. Time flew by as we traveled, and in the blink of an eye, nearly a month had passed. We arrived at a small town outside Wancheng, where every inn was packed to the brim. The streets were crawling with powerful cultivators who were usually impossible to find. The locals had all fled with relocation money once news of the medicine's birth leaked. Wancheng Prefecture usually had 1,000 cultivators, but now people were pouring in from everywhere. Thousands of warriors had gathered in this tiny town, waiting for the moment to strike. Major sects and noble families had set up camp, and new inns were popping up overnight. Street vendors swarmed the area to sell their wares, sensing the massive opportunity to make a profit. The trial was about to begin, and every elite talent from the great families was already here. The place was buzzing, but I couldn't stop thinking about that 1,000-year spiritual medicine. It belonged to the Wancheng fief, so why spread the news and let outsiders grab a piece? Instead of hoarding it like a miser, the city lord decided to be generous with it. He wanted to lure others in to compete, standing there with his hands behind his back and a calm smile. He started with some formal pleasantries, but his tone shifted a second later. "Thank you," he said, acknowledging the crowd. "Thank you all for coming." He announced that any youth could enter the trial to compete for the top spot. If a genius under 30 reached the foundation establishment stage, he'd gladly gift them the treasure. He figured building a bridge with a rising star in their sect was worth more than the pill. After finishing his speech, the city lord let out a booming, hollow laugh. I realized he had calculated every move. No matter who won, he couldn't lose. Even if he kept quiet, the celestial phenomena from 1,000-year treasure would give it away. Once those lights hit the sky, it wouldn't just be a game for the kids anymore. Countless old monsters would descend on this place, like vultures. The city lord was powerful, but his cultivation wasn't high enough to fight off the true elites. He'd spent decades scraping by just to reach the late spiritual soul stage. He wasn't qualified to join the real struggle, so he chose to manage it instead. In this world, the dynasty and the sect families look the other way as long as the capital stays quiet. I watched him and realized just how cunning this man was. He always had a surprise waiting. With a few well-placed words, he flattered the city lord until the man was beaming with pride. Suddenly, the door swung open and a figure walked in with a grim expression, muttering, "Father, are you happy now? The Star Gate, the Dark Soul Gate, they've all arrived." The burly young man shouted at his father, blaming him for the arrival of the dynasty's most powerful sects. Some were imperial factions, others were ancient sects, and 3 of the big 6 were already here. The city lord froze, never expecting a single spiritual herb to lure in 3 elite powerhouses at once. Between the countless old monsters and their celestial disciples, the competition was becoming a nightmare. So what if 3 came? Even if all 6 showed up, this treasure belongs to my son. But despite his bold words, the city lord's face darkened as he realized the gravity of the situation. His son was fuming, feeling like the prize he already had in his grasp was slipping away. "Don't worry, I spent my entire life savings a few days ago to get a special pill just for you. If things go south during the trial, swallow this immediately," the city lord commanded sternly. He reached into his belt and pulled out a tiny pill, no bigger than a fingernail, and handed it over. The young man's eyes widened in shock that his father had managed to secure such a rare medicine. "Keep your voice down and stop acting like a child," the city lord whispered, looking at his son with disappointment. "Father, this isn't some forbidden drug, is it? Just for a spiritual herb. If this burns out my potential, it's not worth the price," the young man said, his face twisting with hesitation. He worried the cost was too high, but his father shook his head. It wasn't a forbidden drug or a breakthrough pill. This is a high-grade healing pill that can restore 70% of your injuries in an instant. It turns a fatal blow into a scratch. As long as you aren't facing a god, this will keep you in the fight. The city lord looked at his son and told him to keep the pill safe and hope for the best. I watched the official son take the drug without a word, thanking his father for the edge. The boy swore he would meet expectations and secure that 1,000-year spiritual herb no matter what. Hearing it was a precious healing pill, the young man's mood shifted instantly. He was beyond excited, tucking the treasure into a hidden pocket in his belt for safekeeping. The city lord patted him, calling him his only hope for the future of their line. He told his son to gain experience from this fight, even if he didn't reach the late support stage. Every major realm is a massive hurdle, and the father just wanted him to live a peaceful life. 95% of cultivators never make it past these bottlenecks. The son bowed low, his heart full of gratitude for the old man's guidance. The light energy radiating from the boy was high, showing his raw potential was finally waking up. He was already a mid-stage expert, and reaching the late stage was only a matter of time. If he could reach that peak before turning 100, he'd be a regional legend. The young man slammed his head against the floor in a kowtow, overcome with emotion. While they played out their family drama, I was miles away, moving through the wilderness. Lu Ruyan and I had crossed thousands of rivers and mountains to reach this desolate wasteland. We finally stood before our destination, the Trial Mountain Range. I looked at the massive peaks and told her I was sorry for the rough travel we'd endured this month. Even from the perimeter, I could sense the auras of several support stage experts lurking in the shadows. They were like vultures, guarding the 1,000-year herb day and night until it finally bloomed. Lu Ruyan sighed to herself, thinking she should have reached the 4th rank by now. She was stuck at the peak of the 3rd rank, her cultivation speed slowing to a crawl. I smiled to myself, knowing I had already carved out a place in her heart. I was carefully maintaining my image as a modest, noble gentleman. As we spoke, a miserable, pleading cry echoed from the grip of my tail. I was holding a bird tightly. It had been acting as my unwilling guide. I caught these creatures occasionally to ensure we didn't lose our way in the waste. My heart had long been hardened by the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest. A single life meant nothing to me, so I crushed it and tossed the body aside. I handed the essence to Lu Ruyan and told her to eat so we could sweep through the humans together. I pulled out a pill for her, showing just enough concern to keep her trust. She swallowed it like candy, telling herself it was only natural for an empress to take what she needed. She promised herself that once she regained her power, she'd give me a proper beating. But for now, those thoughts were nothing but castles in the sky. She felt the awkward weight of constantly accepting my gifts. Who could keep taking like this without feeling indebted? I asked her if I should snatch a human under the cover of night to gather intel. I wanted the opinion of this perverted girl since she knew humans better than I did. Lu Ruyan shook her head, warning me that a rank 6 cultivator was likely guarding the camp. Between the hidden experts and the unfamiliar terrain, we risked being cornered and slaughtered. She explained it all to me once more, even though she assumed I wouldn't understand a word. She was just playing her part. Whether I listened or not was entirely up to me. It's better not to go yet. When the time is right, the celestial aura will naturally flood the Trial Mountains. I nodded thoughtfully, pretending I hadn't heard her call me a little brat under her breath. Lu Ruyan glared at me, her eyes burning with a silent warning. Don't you dare go, Xiaoyin. She suggested we find a place to hide for a few days to avoid being spotted by human experts. I ignored her and thought to myself, this girl is crazy. Xiaoyin was the ridiculous name she gave me. She claimed she needed 2 days of rest to recharge her energy for a full-scale attack. Lu Ruyan nodded with a calm face, but I could tell she was secretly relieved. The long days of travel had clearly worn her down, and she was desperate for a break. We found a cave occupied by a pack of wolves, but they were just low-level beasts to me. I crushed them easily, and we watched the sun rise and set until a few days had vanished. Suddenly, a medicinal fragrance began to drift across the mountains for hundreds of miles. A single breath made me feel refreshed and alert, my entire body surging with new energy. The Trial Mountains were finally opening, and the scent of that 1,000-year-old spirit medicine was overwhelming. Lu Ruyan looked at me and sighed, seemingly deciding to let me have the prize this time. She had already taken so much from me that she couldn't find the face to steal this too. In her past life as a Dragon Clan prodigy, she never lacked resources, but now she knew the struggle. I watched her and thought, you pervert, why can't you just be honest and admit you want it? I licked my lips and cursed her lazily in my head, knowing exactly what she was plotting. I decided to push those confusing thoughts aside for now. They weren't important. Just as we prepared to enter the Trial Mountains, thousands of auras streaked across the sky. They were powerful and pure, and I could tell there were masters among them. I flicked my tongue to sense the situation, but what I saw nearly made my heart stop. Hundreds of flying ships were crossing the heavens, each carrying a sect elder and a crowd of prodigies. Every sect within a 10,000-mile radius had sent their best people to this spot. Most of them were just spirit attraction stage cultivators here to watch and learn. Only a small fraction were actually strong enough to compete for the prize. I felt a sudden chill. Human cultivators were terrifyingly numerous and strong. I looked at the sea of people and thought, where are the experts from my own demon race? I felt incredibly alone in that moment, surrounded by potential enemies. If only a demon lord would show up with a pack of subordinates, I might actually stand a chance. Otherwise, how was I supposed to escape this place alive? But just as the thought crossed my mind, an overwhelming demonic energy surged from the opposite direction. A voice like a tiger's roar thundered through the sky, refusing to dissipate. This 1,000-year spirit medicine grows in these mountains, our demonic territory. The roar sent the weaker human cultivators into a state of pure, trembling terror. But the sect elders didn't flinch. They stood their ground with cold, steady eyes. An old man in dark Taoist robes stepped forward, his long hair fluttering in the wind. A massive black tiger leaped into the air, its body as enormous as a mountain range. The tiger's eyes were massive, staring down that old man with primal intensity. I watched the standoff, grateful for the sudden backup. Within a single day, dozens of experts emerged, the weakest being at the peak of the foundation stage. There were even several innate stage cultivators, though most were old men who barely scraped into that rank. Their spiritual auras flared around them, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. A flash of caution flickered in the flying tiger's eyes as he instinctively stepped back. He watched the humans warily, ready to start a massacre if anyone made a wrong move. Dozens of powerful demon entities appeared to face the humans, their momentum matching the cultivators blow for blow. The lead elder condensed a rift in the void, a small but terrifying crack leaking the scent of destruction. Nonsense, a voice replied. I never said anything about starting a war. A black fox demon stepped forward, admitting his goal was simply to let the young demons temper themselves. His aura was just as crushing as the elders, prompting a human cultivator to roar in frustration. The humans were clearly disgusted but feared the collateral damage to their own disciples. You're still lecturing me? The demon sneered. Enough fighting. How about this? Both sides retreat 200 miles and let only the youth enter the trial zone. We will compete fairly, human or demon, without breaking the ancient pact or sparking a new war. You send your prodigies under 30, and we will send our young geniuses to the trial mountains as well. The black fox seemed desperate to avoid a direct clash, repeatedly emphasizing that the masters must stay back. This was the agreement that would decide the future growth of both humans and demons. It's different for them. Demons grow at an explosive rate compared to us. 15 years for a demon is like 3 years for a human, though their lifespans are shorter. The black fox saw the human elder waver and quickly moved to seal the deal. He sighed in relief, needing this chance for his young demons to test the human prodigies. The human elder snorted coldly, finally giving in despite the bitter taste of the compromise. An hour later, the geniuses of every race gathered to inspect the ancient spirit site. Both sides kept their distance, eyes filled with mutual distrust and hidden agendas. Supreme Elder, why are we letting these beasts in? A young cultivator hissed. This treasure was ours, but now we're handing half the opportunity to those monsters. The low-level monks dispersed, no longer part of the high-stakes oath between the masters. The elder looked at the anxious youth and let out a sharp, mocking humph. It's been centuries since the last war, and the demon race is getting greedy again. So why not use this 1,000-year-old spirit medicine as bait to test their new generation? To us at the Golden Core stage, this herb is useless. It only benefits foundation stage brats. The other humans still looked enraged, their fingers twitching toward their sword hilt. They wanted to break the pact and slaughter the demons right here and now. But the demon warriors didn't give them an opening, standing their ground with bared fangs. Do you really want to put your precious disciples in danger before the trial even starts? That single question from the demon leader shut the human cultivators up instantly. The reputation of both races was on the line, and the system notifications in my head wouldn't stop. The system notifications haven't stopped. The flying tiger is a rank 7 demon beast. The human leader is a mid-stage Sciention cultivator, 1 level higher than the beast. But if they get too close, it'll be impossible to tell who has the upper hand. The pressure was so suffocating I could barely even breathe. But looking at it from the perspective of our bloodlines, we're all basically demon beasts of the same rank, just in different realms. A bunch of fake knights acting in secret, and some idiots with simple brains and ugly limbs. Neither side is any good, I thought to myself, letting out a snort. I looked at them with disdain, frustrated that they couldn't live up to their potential. Forget them. While they're distracted, I need to find a place to stay inside the site. While both sides praised their prodigies, we two snakes slipped silently toward the trials. Right now, both humans and demons are using desperate measures to protect their own. Humans occupy most of the 9 states, while demons hold less than a tenth. Every few hundred years, the demons use their innate bloodline skills to start a fight. And now, the tension between the two races is becoming unbearable. It's like fire and water, ready to explode at any second. But as 2 small snakes, we didn't know any of that yet. All the participants must be under 30 years old. I hope you demons aren't planning any tricks, the human elder said coldly. Our demon genius, Hugh Lin, is under 15. I expect the same from you. Just make sure you human cultivators don't pull any tricks, Ayu replied with a relaxed smirk. With that, the leaders agreed to let every genius enter the secret realm normally. Both sides scrutinized the opposing group before officially starting the trial with about 40 geniuses. In the region of the 9 great states, these 40 represent at least half of the elite. They are the best of the best, at least among those who aren't hiding their strength. The demon side was the same, bringing their own 40 geniuses to the gathering. High above, 5 great beings from each side watched, vowing only to intervene if lives were at stake. Injuries are expected in war, and inside this valley, the ultimate prize is a 1,000-year-old spirit medicine. But there are plenty of other herbs buried there by the various sects to serve as rewards. For the sects, sponsoring a competition with common medicinal herbs is a small price to pay. The geniuses scattered across the 100-li-wide canyon, which felt massive to those on foot. It would take these low-level cultivators days to scour the area for herbs and fight for dominance. I began slithering through the desolate mountains, focused on grabbing every herb I could find. I discovered that every few miles, the system would ping with the location of a new plant. I was cleaning the place out, collecting a massive haul of herbs in no time. This is amazing, I thought, but Lu Rian just watched me with a judgmental look. To her, these herbs were no better than the weeds growing in her own private dimension. They're useful for us right now, she muttered, but there's no need to be this excited. She clearly thought I was overreacting, which made me roll my eyes in annoyance. If you're going to be that picky, I thought, then don't eat any of the pills I make later. After traveling dozens of miles deeper, I finally ran into my first opponent. A black tiger was leaping from side to side, its claws shredding the thick tree trunks with every landing. Wood splinters flew and yellow dust choked the air as the massive beast lunged toward me. The tiger was as long as a tree, and while it wasn't as big as my Jiao form, it was exceptionally agile. I sensed the aura of a peak rank 3 beast radiating from its body. A mere rank 3? I could barely bring myself to care about a fight this easy. Lu Rian didn't wait for it to get close. She surged forward to strike first. I followed her lead, letting the demonic energy within my body begin to unfurl.